The airport was busy. People walked fast, holding their bags, looking tired. But in the middle of all this noise, one girl walked slowly. Her name was Amira. She was only 17. She had dark skin, curly hair tied in a bun, and wore simple jeans and a clean white shirt. Nothing about her said rich. Amira stood near Gate A1, waiting to board a first-class flight to New York. She looked at her ticket again and again, just to be sure. Seat 1A. Yes, she was in first class. When the speaker called for first-class passengers, people looked around. A woman with a diamond necklace walked up first. A man in a suit followed. Then came Amira. The gate agent looked at her. "Miss, this is for first-class passengers only." Amira gave a small smile and handed over her ticket. The agent checked it. Her eyes widened for just a second. She scanned the ticket, handed it back, and said, "Enjoy your flight." As Amira walked down the jet bridge, a few people stared. A boy around 20, with expensive headphones and sunglasses, laughed quietly. "Maybe she won a prize or something," he said to the girl next to him. Amira entered the plane. The first-class section smelled of new leather and fresh flowers. Big, wide seats, clean floors, flight attendants with perfect smiles. One of them, a tall woman with red lipstick, stepped in front of her. "Excuse me, may I help you?" Amira nodded and said softly, "I'm in seat 1A." The woman looked confused, but checked the list. Then, like the gate agent, her face changed for just a second. "Right this way," she said quickly. As Amira placed her small backpack under the seat, she heard soft laughs. A group of passengers nearby were whispering, "Did you see her shoes? She must be lost. Maybe someone else paid for her ticket." Amira didn't say anything. She sat down, buckled her seatbelt, and opened a small book, The Power of Calm. The boy with the sunglasses was now watching her closely. "She's probably a nanny or something," he said loudly. "No way she belongs here." The girl beside him giggled. Amira kept reading. Then a well-dressed older woman sitting across from her leaned over and asked, "Sweetheart, are you sure you're in the right seat?" Amira looked up and said politely, "Yes, ma'am. This is my seat." The woman raised her eyebrows. Interesting." Another man in a business suit whispered, "She doesn't look like someone who flies first class." The flight attendant returned with a tray of orange juice and sparkling water. She smiled at the others, but when she reached Amira, she paused. "Would you like a drink, miss?" Amira looked up. "Just water, please." The attendant gave it to her and walked away, but kept glancing back. The whispers continued. Some people shook their heads. One woman even asked the attendant to double-check the seat assignments. Amira took a deep breath. She remembered what her father told her. "People will always judge you by what they see. Stay calm. Your silence is louder than their noise." She took a sip of water and looked out the window. She could see the runway, the big open sky, and small luggage cars moving around like ants. She smiled quietly. Then came the final words before takeoff. "Cabin crew, prepare for departure." The plane started to move, but the noise didn't stop. The boy with the sunglasses spoke again. "Let's see how long she stays in first class. Probably got here by mistake." Suddenly, Amira's phone buzzed in her lap. A message popped up. "Landing soon. I'll be waiting outside. Dad." She locked the screen and placed the phone back in her bag. She didn't need to explain herself. Not now. Not yet. Because soon, everything would change. And no one on that flight was ready for it. The airplane moved smoothly into the sky. People relaxed in their wide seats. Some opened their laptops. Some ordered coffee. But one person sat very still. Amira. She didn't speak. She didn't complain. She just turned the page in her book slowly, eyes calm like a quiet lake. But the storm around her wasn't over. The boy with the sunglasses, named Chase, leaned over to his friend again. "She hasn't said one word." That's weird, right? Almost like she's scared. His friend, Lily, whispered back, maybe she's embarrassed. She knows she doesn't belong here. Chase laughed under his breath. We should post this. Girl sneaks into first class. Could go viral. He took out his phone and tried to take a picture, holding it low. But just then, a soft voice spoke. Excuse me, sir, said the flight attendant. No photos, please. That's not allowed. Chase rolled his eyes and put the phone away. Amira heard everything. She still didn't look up. She didn't want to give them power. She remembered what her dad always said. The strongest people are quiet, because they don't need to prove anything. As the plane continued, an old woman sitting beside Amira looked at her and smiled. Her name was Mrs. Green. She had white hair and kind eyes. You have very peaceful eyes, dear, she said softly. Amira looked at her, surprised. Thank you, she replied quietly. Mrs. Green nodded. Don't mind the others. Some people have full pockets but empty hearts. Amira gave a small smile. I'm used to it, she said. Mrs. Green looked curious. Do you fly often? Amira shook her head. Not really. This is my first time in first class. Ah, said Mrs. Green, leaning back. Well, you're doing better than most. You're not loud or proud. You're calm. That's rare. Amira looked out the window again. Her thoughts drifted back in time. FLASHBACK, 2 years ago. Amira stood in her school hallway. Kids laughed as she walked by. She always eats alone. Why is she so quiet? Does she even have a mom? Amira kept walking. She didn't talk much in school. Her clothes were simple. She never showed off. At home, things were quiet too. Her mother had passed away when she was 10. Her father was always working, traveling, building something big. But every night, no matter where he was, he called her. One night, she had cried. They don't like me at school. I don't fit in. Her father had replied, You don't need to fit in, Amira. You were born to stand out. He sent her books about strength, kindness, silence, and power. He told her stories about how he once worked in a garage, washing cars. Now, he wore suits and sat in rooms full of millionaires and never shouted once. Back to the equivalence end. Oh, and the plane. The flight attendant returned and gave snacks to the passengers. She reached Amira and paused again. Would you like anything to eat, miss? Amira smiled politely. Just the fruit, please. The attendant nodded quickly and handed her a small bowl of fruit. She walked away, but not before glancing back once more. Behind Amira, Chase still wasn't done. He said, loud enough for others to hear, maybe she's one of those rich kids trying to act poor. You know, like some kind of social test. Some people chuckled. Others looked uncomfortable. But Amira kept eating her fruit. She didn't react. Mrs. Green leaned in and whispered, He's trying to make you speak. Don't give him what he wants. Amira nodded. Her heart was beating fast, but her face stayed calm. Suddenly, Lily tapped the flight attendant and asked in a fake sweet voice, Hi, I think there's been a mistake. Maybe you could double-check her seat, just to be sure. The flight attendant looked surprised but said, Certainly. Let me check the list again. She walked to the front of the plane and picked up the list. A few passengers watched closely. The woman returned a moment later. She looked straight at Lily and Chase. I checked. Miss Amira is in the correct seat. 1A. Everything is in order. Then she turned to Amira. I apologize for the trouble. Amira nodded politely. It's okay. The flight attendant gave a small smile and walked away. Chase didn't say anything for a while, but he was clearly annoyed. Mrs. Green smiled proudly at Amira. Well done, dear. Grace is stronger than anger. Amira whispered, Thank you. She picked up her book again. But in her mind, she thought of something else. They still don't know. They don't know who's waiting for me in New York. They don't know that I'm not here by chance. She took a deep breath. The world would cease soon. But not because she shouted. Because truth doesn't need a loud voice, only time. And time was almost up. The airplane moved smoothly above the clouds. The sky outside was soft and blue, but inside there was still a storm of quiet stares and unspoken questions. Amira sat still in seat 1A, her face calm, her body relaxed. But inside, her heart beat a little faster. She knew eyes were still watching her. She could feel the judgment. She could hear the whispers. But she stayed quiet. She didn't come here to prove anything. She didn't need to explain herself. Her father always said, "Let your truth do the talking." And truth never shouts. Across the aisle, Chase kept glancing at her. His rich boy attitude didn't let him rest. He wasn't used to someone ignoring him. "She's hiding something," he whispered to Lily, who sat beside him. Lily nodded. "No one just shows up in first class like that. She's probably trying to act rich." Chase pulled out his phone and typed Amira's seat number into a passenger list app. Nothing came up. "Ew, maybe she used someone else's name," he muttered. A man behind him, in a business suit, leaned forward and said, "You two should stop. What if she really does belong here?" Chase rolled his eyes. "She's dressed like she works at the airport, not like she belongs in first class." The plane flew on. The soft ding of the seatbelt sign turning off filled the air. Passengers relaxed more now. Some watched movies. Others read books or checked emails. Amira, still reading The Power of Calm, reached into her bag for a small chocolate. As she did, her phone lit up again. A new message from her dad. "Almost there. I'll be waiting at the gate with security." Amira smiled quietly. The moment was getting close. Then it happened. The flight attendant from earlier, the one who had been unsure about Amira at first, came walking back slowly. She stopped near the food station, just a few feet away from Chase and Lily. She was holding something in her hand, a small note. She leaned down to speak softly to another attendant, but even her whisper wasn't quiet enough. "I just checked. Do you know who her dad is?" she said. The second attendant raised her eyebrows. "No, who?" The first attendant looked around, then whispered, "Her last name is Monroe. She's Amira Monroe. Her father is that billionaire tech guy, the one who owns Skyway Systems." The second woman gasped. "You mean Elijah Monroe, the one from the news, the richest black CEO in the country?" The first attendant nodded slowly. "Yes, that's his daughter." They thought no one heard them. But Chase did, and so did the man behind him, and a few others nearby. The whisper moved through the cabin like fire in dry grass. Amira Monroe. Elijah Monroe's daughter. The Elijah Monroe. Chase froze. Lily leaned in close and whispered, "Wait, is that true?" Chase looked pale now. His lips didn't move. Suddenly, people weren't laughing anymore. The man behind Chase quickly pulled out his phone and searched. Amira Monroe. Elijah Monroe daughter. Images popped up. One picture showed Amira and her father at a charity event. Another showed them walking out of a tall building with reporters around. He turned his screen so others could see. It was her. Same soft face. Same calm eyes. Now everything felt different. Passengers who were once smirking now sat straighter. The woman who had asked the flight attendant to double-check Amira's seat looked down at her hands. Mrs. Green, still sitting beside Amira, gave a small smile. "So that's why you stayed so calm," she said quietly. Amira looked at her, a little surprised. "Don't worry," Mrs. Green said. "Your secret is safe with me. But I must say, you're quite the young lady." Amira just smiled. "Thank you," she whispered. She didn't look behind her. She didn't need to. She could feel the shift in the room. The energy had changed. No more whispers. No more laughs. Just quiet respect. And guilt. Chase leaned back in his seat, biting his lip. He wanted to say something, maybe even apologize, but the words didn't come. His joke had backfired. His target was someone far more powerful than he imagined. But more than that, she had never needed to show it. She didn't wear fancy clothes. She didn't brag. She didn't speak a single proud word. She simply sat, breathed, and stayed still. And still, she made them all feel small. The whisper had spread like wildfire. Amira Monroe. Not just a random girl. Not someone who snuck into first class. She was the daughter of Elijah Monroe, one of the richest men in the world, the founder of Skyway Systems, the tech company that changed air travel, phones, and even how people talk to each other. Now, the people who had laughed at her were silent. Chase couldn't stop thinking about it. Just 2 hours ago, he was making fun of Amira's simple shoes, her quiet look, her silent presence. Now, all he could do was sit back and stare at the seat in front of him. He wanted to disappear. Next to him, Lily whispered, "Should we say something? Apologize?" Chase didn't answer. His ego felt crushed. His pride hurt. But most of all, he was confused. How could someone so rich look so normal? He muttered under his breath. A businessman sitting across from them answered, even though they weren't talking to him. "Because the truly powerful don't need to look powerful," he said. "They just are." Meanwhile, at seat 1A, Amira sipped her water slowly. She still hadn't said anything. She hadn't turned around. She didn't try to act different. She didn't need to. For her, the whisper didn't matter. The truth was always there. The only thing that changed was that now, they knew. Mrs. Green leaned closer again. "Do you know what I like about you, dear?" Amira looked at her gently. "What?" "You could have walked onto this plane with gold rings and shiny bags. You could have made everyone feel small. But you didn't. You walked in like a regular girl. And still, look what happened." Amira smiled, a bit shy. "I don't like showing off," she said. Mrs. Green nodded. "Then you're already wiser than most." The flight continued. The seatbelt sign came on. They were getting close to landing. Now people were starting to sit straighter again. The silence was louder than before. The flight attendant came back and offered warm towels. This time, when she reached Amira, her hands were shaking just a little. "Would you like one, Miss Monroe?" Amira nodded politely. "Yes, thank you." The attendant smiled nervously. "If you need anything else, anything at all, just let me know." Amira took the towel. "I'm fine, thank you." Even her voice was calm, kind, quiet, but powerful. FLASHBACK, 1 WEEKAGO. Amira sat on a balcony, her feet up on a small table. The beach wind touched her curls. Her father, Elijah Monroe, sat beside her in a white button-up shirt, laptop closed. He looked at his daughter with deep pride. "Are you ready for the New York trip?" Amira nodded. "I am. But I know what will happen again." "What?" her father asked. "They'll look at me. They'll whisper. They'll think I don't belong." Elijah smiled and put his arm around her shoulder. "Let them," he said. "Let them doubt you. Let them laugh. That's their lesson to learn." She rested her head on his shoulder. "You always say that." "Because it's true," he replied. "One day, your name will speak louder than anything you wear or say. But even before they know who you are, always remember, you know. And that's enough." Back to present, plane landing. The captain's voice came through the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing shortly at JFK International Airport. Please return your seats to the upright position." The airplane tilted slightly as it began to descend. People buckled their seatbelts. But the air inside the cabin had changed. Amira looked out the window. The tall buildings of New York slowly came into view. The lights, the roads, the tiny cars moving below. Her phone buzzed again. "We're outside. 2 security staff will meet you at the gate. Dad." She smiled quietly and turned off the phone. Behind her, Chase was sweating. He leaned toward Lily again. "What if her dad comes inside the airport?" he whispered. "What if he knows we said things?" Lily looked panicked. "Don't say anything dumb when we land." The plane landed. Wheels touched the ground. Everyone clapped softly. As it rolled to a stop, the flight attendants gave their usual goodbye speech. But this time, everyone was half listening. They were watching her. Amira stood up calmly, pulled her small bag from the overhead bin, and waited. No rush, no fear, just quiet strength. The door opened. A uniformed airline staff member walked in and said loudly, "Miss Amira Monroe." She stepped forward. "Right this way, ma'am. Your escort is waiting outside." Everyone on the plane turned to look. Outside, through the small window near the door, people could see 2 black SUVs and 2 men in black suits holding radios. Chase's mouth dropped open. Mrs. Green smiled proudly. Amira turned back just before stepping off the plane. She looked at the group of people who had once whispered, laughed, and doubted her. She didn't say, "I told you so." She didn't brag. She just smiled and gave a small nod. Then walked away, because her name was enough. The New York airport was busy as always. People rushed through the glass doors, dragging their bags, checking their phones, and calling taxis. But when Amira Monroe stepped off the plane, the world seemed to pause, at least for a few people. 2 tall men in black suits stood waiting near the gate, both wearing earpieces. They didn't smile. They didn't speak. They just nodded when they saw her. One of them stepped forward. "Miss Monroe, your car is ready." Amira gave a polite nod. "Thank you." Passengers from her flight walked behind her slowly. Their eyes followed her every move. Some tried to act normal. Some whispered again. But this time, the whispers were different. "She's so classy. I heard her dad gave away $10 million to build schools." She didn't even say anything rude, just walked out like a queen. Even Chase and Lily stood near the gate, pretending to fix their bags. But really, they were just watching Amira. Chase opened his mouth to say something, but then closed it again. What could he say now? "I made fun of you before I knew who you were." That wouldn't fix anything. So he said nothing. Outside, a black SUV waited with dark-tinted windows. A driver in a suit opened the back door. The city lights reflected on the glass, and for a second, Amira could see her own face. Calm, still, strong. She slid into the back seat. The door shut behind her. The car pulled away from the airport, leaving behind a crowd of confused, curious, and quietly embarrassed people. The next day, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, news blogs. Everywhere Amira looked, there were photos from the airport. Someone had taken a picture of her getting into the SUV. Another post had a blurry video of her walking through the gate with security. And the captions, "Who is Amira Monroe? Daughter of tech billionaire spotted flying commercial. Stays humble, stays cool." This girl didn't say a word and shut the whole plane down. Amira scrolled through the posts while sitting in her bedroom. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even surprised. This always happened. Every few months, someone would discover who she was, and the internet would go wild for a few days. Then it would stop again. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from a girl at her old school. "Hey Amira, long time. Just saw you on TikTok. So proud of you. Let's hang out soon." She stared at the message. This girl never talked to her before. In fact, she once laughed at Amira's old backpack. Now she wanted to hang out. A few more texts came in. "Hey bestie, remember me? I didn't know your dad was Elijah Monroe. That's so cool." She put the phone down. Later that afternoon, she sat at the kitchen table, eating fruit, when her dad walked in. Elijah Monroe, tall, confident, dressed in a soft sweater and jeans. He sat down across from her. "You okay?" he asked gently. Amira nodded. "Yeah." He smiled. Saw the internet exploded. She sighed. "It's the same every time." Elijah leaned back in his chair. People love a story, especially a story they didn't see coming. "They all want to be my friend now," Amira said quietly. "They were rude yesterday. But now, they want selfies. They want to hang out." Her father nodded. "That's because most people follow power, not truth." Amira looked up. "What should I do?" Elijah smiled again, his eyes warm. "Keep being exactly who you are," he said. "Don't chase them. Don't hate them. Just stay true. The ones who matter will see you for you, not your name." Amira let those words settle in her heart. They sounded simple, but they held deep power. They ate Eve. Amira sat at her desk. She opened her email. Dozens of unread messages, one from a fashion brand, one from a luxury school asking her to speak at an event, one from a famous YouTuber. "Would love to collab. Let's talk business." She smiled quietly. Funny how silence made the loudest noise. She didn't have to shout. She didn't need glitter or gold. Her name, and her calm strength, had done all the talking. And now, everyone suddenly wanted to know her. But she knew the truth. The real ones would have wanted to know her, even before the world did. The messages didn't stop. Every day, Amira's phone buzzed. People from school, strangers online, even old teachers. They all wanted something now. A selfie, a follow back, a favor, or just to say, "I know her." But Amira kept asking herself one thing. Where were they before? Where were they when she sat alone at lunch? Where were they when she wore simple clothes and they called her boring? Where were they when she wasn't Elijah Monroe's daughter, just Amira, the quiet girl in the back? FLASHBACK. A year ago. It was a rainy morning. Amira walked into school in the same brown jacket she wore every winter. Her shoes were old but clean. She liked them. As she walked down the hallway, a group of girls stared at her and giggled. One of them whispered loudly on purpose, "Did she get that jacket from a lost and found box?" The others laughed. Amira heard it. She always heard it. She just didn't say anything. She passed by Chase and Lily too. They didn't laugh out loud that time, but they smirked. They always looked through her like she was invisible. And Amira never forgot. Present day, at home. Now those same girls had liked all her Instagram pictures. One even sent her a DM. "Babe, you're stunning. Let's do a girls' day soon." Amira looked at the message for a long time, then deleted it. She didn't hate them, but she wasn't going to fake a smile either. She leaned back on her bed and opened her notes app. She began to write. The way they look at you changes the moment they know your last name. But real kindness, that happens when no one is watching. That's the kind of person I want to be. She saved it. Sometimes writing helped her breathe. Later, T8 Buiiki, a CGUL reunion. Her old school was having a small reunion, just for recent grads. Amira didn't want to go at first, but her father smiled and said, "Sometimes it's good to walk back through old doors. It reminds you how far you've come." So she went. She wore the same kind of outfit she always wore. Simple jeans, soft sweater, and flat shoes. No designer bag. No bodyguards. Just her. When she walked in, the room suddenly got quiet. People noticed. Whispers started again. "Is that her? She's even prettier in real life. I can't believe she came here." Lily waved nervously from across the room. Chase stood frozen near the snack table. Amira smiled softly at the few people who waved. Then she walked over to the only girl who used to sit with her at lunch. "Maya." "Hi." Amira said. Maya's eyes lit up. You came. You always saved me a seat. I didn't forget. Maya laughed. Everyone's going crazy over you now. Amira nodded. Yeah, but where were they before? Maya's smile faded. They didn't deserve you then. They don't now. On the way home, Amira sat in the car with her dad, looking out the window as the city lights passed. Did you enjoy it? Elijah asked. I'm glad I went, she said. I needed to see it with my own eyes. He nodded. The people who matter, they don't change based on your title. They just see you. Amira smiled. Maya was there. She's still the same. Then hold on to her, he said. Those people are rare. Amira sat in silence for a while, then asked, why do people care so much only after they find out who you are? Her dad's voice was calm. Because most people don't see until they think there's something to gain. But you don't need to be seen by everyone, just by the right ones. Later at night, social media post. Amira posted a photo of herself sitting by a window, city lights glowing behind her. The caption read, if you didn't see me before, don't rush to know me now. It went viral in minutes. But Amira didn't stay to watch the numbers. She closed the app, put her phone on the nightstand, and curled up under her blanket. Her heart was calm. She wasn't angry. She wasn't bitter. She just knew better now. The sound of rain tapping against the windows made the room feel quiet. Amira sat on her bed with her laptop open, staring at the screen. Her social media notifications kept rising. Every 5 seconds, a new comment. Every 10 seconds, a new follow request. Queen. Didn't know she was rich. Teach me how to stay classy like you. I've always been your biggest fan. Amira blinked slowly. She didn't smile. Because she knew something they didn't. Most of those people never cared about her before. She clicked on an old message thread. It was from Haley, one of the girls from her school. The last message from Haley was a year ago. It said, are you sure you belong in the honors club? You're kinda quiet. Lol, no offense. No hi. No, sorry. Just a rude comment. Now, Haley had sent 3 messages in 2 days. Girl, you're glowing. We need to hang out. You always had this vibe. I just didn't get it back then. Hey, are you going to the reunion? We have to catch up. Amira sighed. Where were they before? She whispered. Flashback. 1 year earlier. The lunchroom was loud and full of students. Amira stood at the edge with her lunch tray, looking for a place to sit. She walked toward a table with a few empty seats. A girl looked up, saw her, and quickly put her backpack on the chair. Sorry, it's taken, the girl said, without even smiling. Amira nodded quietly and moved away. She found an empty table in the corner and sat alone. No one looked at her. No one asked if she was okay. She ate her sandwich in silence, staring at the floor. Plurizy today, SCROLONG through B, MESSAGs. Now everyone wanted her time, her attention, her like on their post. Even Chase, the boy who once laughed behind her back, had messaged her. Hey, you looked great at the airport. That was wild, huh? Let's grab coffee sometime. Amira didn't respond. She opened her camera instead and recorded a video. It was just her, looking calm and strong. She spoke softly. To anyone watching, don't wait until someone is famous to treat them with kindness. Don't wait until the world claps for them before you do. Because real respect is shown in silence, when no one's watching. She saved the video. She wasn't sure if she'd posted yet. T8 EVE TALK with her dad. Her father, Elijah Monroe, entered the living room with a cup of tea in each hand. He gave one to Amira and sat beside her. You've been quiet today, he said. Amira nodded, just thinking. About. About how fake people are, she said. They ignore you when you're normal, then praise you when they find out who you are. Elijah sipped his tea. That's the world, sweetheart. Many people don't see with their hearts. They see with their greed. Amira looked down. It makes me sad. I know what he said, but it also makes it easier to know who's real. Amira looked at her dad. His calm voice always helped her feel stronger. The Sisihuol reunion night. Amira dressed simply, dark jeans, a soft beige top, no heavy makeup, no brand names. She walked into the school hall with her chin up, her steps light. Everyone turned to look. Phones came out. Eyes widened. Chase was there. So was Lily. And Haley. And the others. Whispers followed her like shadows. She's actually here. She looks so different now. Do you think she'll talk to us? Amira didn't rush to any of them. She walked straight toward the one person who once sat with her at lunch every Friday. Maya. Maya stood near the drinks table, holding a paper cup. She gasped when she saw Amira. Oh my God, you came. Amira smiled. Of course I did. I promised you I would. They hugged. It was warm and real. Maya laughed nervously. Everyone's freaking out. You're kind of a star now. Amira looked around and said, Funny. They didn't see me before. Maya nodded. You were always this amazing. They just never paid attention. FTORTHE reunion. As she left the building, the cool night air hit Amira's face. She took a deep breath. Her father's car waited nearby. She slid into the back seat and looked out the window as the school faded into the distance. Her phone buzzed. A message from Lily popped up. Hey, it was so great seeing you tonight. You looked amazing. Let's get together soon. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Later, the 8 night 8. She sat in bed, her soft lamp glowing beside her. She opened her notes app and wrote. They didn't clap when you were building. They didn't care when you were growing. But now they want to cheer because the lights are on. Don't let the noise confuse you. Real ones were there in silence. She saved it. And this time, she did post it. The comments poured in. But Amira didn't care about the numbers anymore. She had already won. Quietly, deeply, and with dignity. The sun rose slowly, painting soft gold on Amira's curtains. She sat at her desk, sipping warm tea, while her phone buzzed again and again. Interviews, sponsorship offers, modeling agencies, even a movie casting team. Everyone wanted her face, her voice, her name. But today, Amira felt something very different. For the first time, in a long time, she didn't feel like she had to say yes. She didn't feel like she had to prove anything. She didn't feel small. She just felt peaceful. LSHBACK. Little AMIR. She remembered a day from childhood. She was 7 years old, standing in front of her school's artboard. Her drawing was taped at the bottom corner. It was colorful. A girl in space with curly hair, flying through stars. Other kids had drawn simple houses or flowers, but her teacher didn't mention Amira's drawing. Instead, she gave a prize to a neat pencil sketch by a blonde girl. Amira had clapped politely, even though her small hands felt cold. She looked up at her dad that day and asked, "Why didn't they pick mine?" Elijah bent down and smiled gently. "They didn't see what I see," he said, "but that doesn't mean it's not special." Now, years later, that memory returned, clear and soft. Prescient day. Her decision. Amira closed the email from a fashion brand that wanted her to be their face of luxury. She didn't reply. Instead, she opened a blank document and began to type. To every girl who ever felt unseen, you don't have to change to be worthy. You don't need designer clothes or a rich last name to matter. If your heart is kind and your mind is strong, you're already more than enough. She hit post. The message went viral in minutes, but this time, Amira didn't even watch, because she wasn't posting for fame. She was posting for the little girl she used to be, the one who sat alone and stayed silent. And expectedemail. That afternoon, she got an email from a small school in a nearby city. A teacher wrote, "Hi Amira, my students saw your story and have been talking about it nonstop. Many of them come from places where they're made to feel less than. Would you visit our classroom just to speak with them?" Amira smiled. She didn't think twice. The visit, 8 later, the school wasn't fancy. No glass doors, no shining floors. But it felt warm. Inside a small classroom, 22 students sat with wide eyes as Amira walked in. One little girl whispered, "That's her." Amira sat down, not at the front, but in the middle of the circle. She didn't talk like a celebrity. She talked like someone who had been there. "When I was your age," she said, "I thought I had to be loud or perfect to be noticed. But sometimes the quiet ones are full of the biggest dreams." She showed them the old space drawing she had saved from when she was 7. The same one no one noticed back then. Their eyes sparkled. One girl raised her hand and said, "I draw too, but nobody ever says it's good." Amira smiled and said, "Show me someday. I'll tell you what I see." After the visit in TCAR with her dad. On the way home, Amira sat beside her father again, just like before. Only now, she wasn't the unsure girl anymore. She was calm, quiet, powerful in her own way. Elijah looked at her proudly. "You didn't just find your voice, Amira. You're giving it to others." She looked out the window, thinking about the little girl from class, the one who reminded her so much of herself. "I think that's what I want to do, Dad," she said. "Not be famous. Just help girls like me feel seen." He nodded slowly. "Then that's exactly what you should do." You do beginning. One memo and THE later. Amira started a small project. She called it the Quiet Girls Club. It was simple. She visited schools. She hosted small art shows. She helped girls speak, write, and create without fear. No fancy stages, no loud media, just real stories, real girls, real change. People started noticing, not because of her name, but because of her work. She didn't care for the camera flashes anymore. She cared for the moments when a shy girl finally raised her hand, or when someone whispered, "Thank you for not forgetting us." Final scene. ALETKR to her younger self. One evening, Amira sat by her window with a pen and notebook. She wrote a letter to her younger self. "Dear little me, I know it felt lonely sometimes. I know you wondered why they didn't pick you. But one day they will. Not because you changed, but because you stayed true. The world might not see your light right away, but never let it go dim. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You already are everything you need to be. Love, me." She folded the note and smiled. Outside, the city lights sparkled, but inside her heart, a new kind of light had been born. Not from money, not from fame, but from purpose. Amira didn't need to prove herself anymore. She had become something even more powerful. She had become herself. Months passed. Autumn leaves painted the streets orange and gold. Amira was no longer just the girl from the airplane. She was now Amira Monroe, founder of the Quiet Girls Club, a growing movement that was spreading across schools and communities. Her story had touched hearts far beyond what she imagined. But now, her dream was getting bigger. And with bigger dreams came bigger questions. The invitation. One morning, as she finished her morning tea, her father walked in with an envelope in his hand. "It came in the mail," he said. "Looks important." Amira opened it carefully. Her eyes widened. It was a letter from the United Nations. "We are inviting you to speak at the Global Youth Voices Summit in Geneva, Switzerland. We believe your story and the message behind the Quiet Girls Club deserves to be heard around the world. Her hands trembled slightly. Her father placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "You ready for this?" he asked. She smiled softly. "I think I am." The big stage E. Weeks later, Amira stood behind a tall podium under bright lights. Hundreds of people sat before her. Some wore suits, some held notebooks. Cameras flashed. But she didn't let the stage change her. She spoke like she always did, from her heart. Not everyone gets a microphone in life. Some are told they're too quiet, too different, too invisible. But just because the world doesn't listen to you at first, doesn't mean your voice has no power. She paused. When I sat in first class that day, people looked at me like I didn't belong. But I'm not here to prove I belong there. I'm here to remind you, we all belong, especially the ones you forget to see. The audience stood and clapped, not out of politeness, but because they felt her words. Some cried, some whispered to each other. That's exactly what we needed to hear. Back home, a big decision. After the summit, Amira returned home full of energy. But something had changed. She didn't just want to visit schools anymore. She wanted to build something lasting, something permanent. An idea began to grow in her mind. What if there was a place where quiet girls could create, speak, dream, and lead? Not just a club, but a school. The Quiet Girls Academy. With the support of her father and donations from people who believed in her mission, Amira opened the very first Quiet Girls Academy in her hometown. It wasn't big, but it was beautiful. Walls covered in art, rooms filled with soft light, gardens outside where students could write, draw, and dream in peace. There were no loud bells, no harsh voices, just kindness, patience, and space for growth. Students came from all over. Shy girls, bullied girls, forgotten girls. And slowly they bloomed like flowers. Meeting a girl who changed here. One day, Amira was walking through the academy when she noticed a girl sitting alone under a tree, sketching in a notebook. She sat beside her and smiled. "What are you drawing?" The girl turned the notebook toward her. It was a picture of a rocket ship, and a black girl flying it through the stars. Amira's heart stopped for a second. It looked just like her old drawing. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Zara," the girl said quietly. "You know," Amira said with a warm laugh, "I once drew something just like this." Zara looked up, surprised. "Really? Really?" And back then, no one cared about it. But now I do. They sat there under the tree for a long time. Two dreamers from different generations, quietly connecting through art and shared hope. An unexpected message. That night, Amira got a voice message from someone she never expected to hear from. It was Haley, the same girl who once looked down on her. Her voice sounded shaky. "Hey Amira, I know I probably don't deserve a reply, but I just wanted to say, thank you. My little sister goes to your new academy. She's always been really quiet and kind of lost. But now she comes home smiling. She sings, she paints, she talks more. I never knew how much she needed a place like that. So even if we weren't friends back then, I'm really, really grateful for what you've done now." Amira listened in silence. Then she whispered, "That's why I do it.